Just in the past few years, Sacramento has become a majority renter city.
A lot of them are low-income families.
The renters we see living in the most dangerous conditions and paying much more than they can afford for housing are more often people of color, particularly immigrants, oftentimes who don't share a language with their landlords, which makes it more difficult for them to report issues of unhealthy housing.
I moved in my house approximately April of 2012, and from the first day I've had problems with the house, which I've reported to the owner. The house is flooded. I've had rat infestation, broken pipe under the house with the trees in it. There's still the electrical problem.
We're seeing families that are living with mold, with asthma, with health issues, but they're in fear of moving out because there's no other place for them to go.
Lo que estamos viendo en las historias de las familias que hemos entrevistado es que cuando un dueño invierte en su propiedad, el que está pagando el costo en realidad son las personas que están rentando.
Tenants in Sacramento are facing some of the fastest rising rents in the nation.
We're seeing property managers that feel okay to raise the rents 3 times a year.
The rent is very, very high for us. It's hard for us to afford food as well because my rent does come first.
Economists always say you should never pay more than 30% of your income. They're paying over 50.
My daughter, she is 18. Although she wants to move out, she realizes that she needs at least 2 or 3 jobs just to afford the rent.
They're making choices already of whether or not they're going to buy, more food to put on the table, or if they're going to have to finally move out.
I'm disgusted because there's no property that I can live with my children at the same rate.
Don't have any protections regarding eviction. They can be evicted for any reason or no reason at all.
We were homeless for about a month because of the no-fault eviction that happened last year.
Right now, going through the 60-day notice, and the councilman decided that he would talk to him, and they gave me an extra 30 days to move out.
How you doing?
You said the 13th.
Yeah.
How did it come up with the 13th?
That's 30 days for mine.
Oh, not 30 days from the 60-day notice.
No.
I couldn't find no houses in this area. So I said, well, why don't he fix it? So I don't have to move and just pay him $1,800. The lawyer told me not to sign that.
Okay, so you're not going to sign it?
I'm not going to sign it, but okay. I'm going to stick to it. You said the 13th is what I have.
Some, not all, landlords will take advantage of tenants because they feel that tenants don't know their rights.
Fight here in Sacramento is for fair rents. It's not taking advantage of a landlord to help one side versus another. It's about fairness and equality.
In the past few years, the Sacramento Housing Alliance has gotten together with other community advocates, with some of our partners at the labor union, and formed a coalition to push for stronger tenants protections in Sacramento to address these issues.
We held a multilingual town hall. I think that's the first one that has happened in Sacramento. We presented all the information about our initiative in Hmong and Spanish and English at the same time. And so that helped us to reach communities that traditionally aren't included in the conversation around voting or ordinances.
As an individual, you may feel powerless, and you're not. When you join together with people who share your values and your interests, you can make a huge change.
I think the only way they can hear us is just by speaking up. Continue to attend meetings. We don't speak up and come together as one, they're not going to take us seriously.
We had to really build a lot of people power to see that this was such a deep issue and then bring that education to our decision makers.
We took the first step. We changed the narrative in the city, in the press. We spoke to thousands of our neighbors, and that's not where it stopped. Change isn't necessarily going to happen overnight.
In 2019, our Sacramento City Council passed an ordinance.
The Tenant Protection and Relief Act, which does 3 things. It caps rent increases at 6% plus CPI with a hard percent at 10%. So you can only have 1 rent increase per year, and it has to be under 10%. Provides tenant protections in the form of just cause eviction after you've been living in your place for a year. So your landlord has to tell you why you're being evicted, give you an opportunity to solve the problem if it's something you're doing, like not paying rent, or give you advanced warning if it's something like they're pulling the unit off the market. And then the third thing it does is create a rental housing registry. So something that tracks rents across the city, tracks housing quality, and so it's combined with that code enforcement database so we can really dig into the housing problems we're facing.
It's not perfect, but it's going to stop some of the most egregious rent increases and a lot of the evictions now. where, hopefully the initiative will do that later.
The recent vote from City Council to pass Tenant Protection and Relief Act, we feel is an actual setback because it's not permanent protections. It's not going to protect all the families.
It's not enough. Renters need more relief than just an anti-gouging ordinance. It's something and it's good, but they can do better.
Knowing your rights protects you when you do start looking for housing.
The next chapter is informing our renters in Sacramento that now that we have an ordinance, what that means for them as far as tenant protections and limiting rent increases. Because if they don't know, then they can't hold their landlord accountable. We're going to work on an inclusionary housing policy going forward. I don't know that the City Council knows that's coming yet, but I think they'll take us seriously when we show up at the door.
I've learned going through this process that I am able to speak up, be my own voice, not to be afraid to tell my landlord there's a problem with the house.
This is a community-wide problem, and it needs a community-wide solution.
If you're a homeowner, or if you make a solid wage where you can afford these rent increases, it's easy to kind of look the other way and kind of just be like, well, it doesn't affect me. But in reality, it does. It does affect all of us.
Lo que nos ha impulsado es la esperanza de ver una mejor comunidad, una comunidad donde todos podamos participar y donde todas nuestras voces puedan ser escuchadas.
I'd like people that are in the same situation to try to reach out to different groups that are for the tenants. You need to get some kind of help from these organizations. I think something should be done about that, but not just for me, because I'm going to lose my place to stay, but for people coming up.
We're going to keep working and keep knocking down the barriers for people who are struggling with housing.
Whether or not these new protections benefit you, I think it should be an inspiration for what we can win when we fight together.